The strangest thing about evolution is not just survival of the fittest, it is how wildly different animals keep reinventing the crab. At least 5 separate crustacean lineages have independently crabified, transforming from long-tailed ancestors into nearly identical forms. This is not a meme. The idea that everything becomes a crab is a baffling reality, and it reveals both the limits and the predictability of evolution. Why does nature keep coming back to this one blueprint? What can these repeated crab-shaped mysteries tell us about how life adapts? In 2017, the internet latched onto a new running joke. No matter what people said, evolution will eventually turn everything into a crab. Memes exploded across Twitter and Tumblr, riffing on the idea that nature has a soft spot for sideways walking shellfish. The joke spread because it felt absurd and delightful, and because it had a grain of truth. But behind the punchlines sits a real scientific puzzle, one that has stumped researchers for over a century. The pattern even has a name: carcinization. The term first appeared in the writings of British zoologist L.A. Borradaile in 1916, long before the internet made crabs famous. He was cataloguing crustaceans from around the world when he noticed something uncanny. Animals as different as squat lobsters and hermit crabs kept evolving into nearly identical crab-like shapes, even though they were not closely related. Borradaile joked about the process of becoming a crab, but his observations were deadly serious. He saw that evolution was not just a random walk, it seemed to loop back to the same body plan again and again. Today, carcinization is a textbook example of convergent evolution, when unrelated creatures faced with similar challenges end up with the same solution. That is the bigger idea behind the joke. The meme is funny because it is true. At least 5 separate crustacean groups have independently crabified over the last 250 million years. And every time the result is so convincing that even experts sometimes struggle to tell true crabs from imposters. So what actually counts as a true crab? And why does this body plan keep coming back? Scientists have been trying to pin down the answer ever since Ella Borradaile's first notes, and the story only gets stranger from here. Crabs may look like simple creatures, but there is a precise checklist that separates true crabs from their many lookalikes. Biologists group all real crabs into a single order called Brachyura, a name that literally means short tail. The name hints at the first key feature, a broad, flattened shell known as the carapace, which gives the crab its signature shape. Unlike the long, narrow bodies of shrimp or lobsters, a true crab's carapace is wide and shield-like, covering nearly the entire animal from above. Second, there is the matter of the tail, or more accurately, the lack of one. In true crabs, the abdomen is tightly folded underneath the main body, tucked away and almost invisible unless you flip the crab over. This folded abdomen forms a compact package, helping protect the softer parts of the animal and reinforcing the crab's sturdy armored profile. Finally, true crabs have 5 pairs of legs, for a total of 10. The first pair is always modified into large pincers or claws, called chelae, which are used for grabbing, defense, and sometimes even communication. The remaining 4 pairs support the crab's sideways walk, each limb radiating from the body like spokes on a wheel. These 3 traits, a broad flat carapace, a hidden folded abdomen, and 5 pairs of legs with the first pair as claws, define the true crabs. Many imposters come close, but only Brachyura tick every box. That is the baseline for what counts as a real crab in the eyes of science. King crabs look every bit the part, massive, armored and bristling with claws. For decades, biologists slotted them alongside true crabs, assuming their resemblance was a family trait. But the real story was hiding in their DNA. In the early 2010s, a team led by Joanna Wolf set out to settle a debate that had simmered for over a century. Using mitochondrial and multi-gene datasets, they compared king crabs with other crustaceans, including their supposed close cousins, the true crabs. The results were a shock. King crabs were not true crabs at all. Genetically, they lined up with hermit crabs, those soft-bellied, shell-dwelling oddballs of the shoreline. The clues ran even deeper. King crab larvae under a microscope reveal subtle asymmetries, left-right differences in their bodies that mirror the quirks of hermit crab development. Adult king crabs might have lost the habit of living in borrowed shells, but their blueprints still bear the mark of their ancestry. Wolf described the moment the genetic data clicked. She said it was like finally seeing the last puzzle piece snap into place. For scientists, this was more than a twist in crab genealogy. It was proof that evolution can take a creature built for hiding in snail shells and, over millions of years, transform it into a giant armored crawler that rules the seafloor. The king crab's journey from hermit to heavyweight is a textbook case of carcinization, showing that the crab shape can evolve not just once, but again and again in lineages that started out worlds apart. This genetic detective work did not just redraw the crustacean family tree, it revealed that the crab body plan is so effective that even distant relatives can stumble onto it by entirely different routes. The king crab's secret hermit past stands as one of the most striking examples of nature's evolutionary reruns. Porcelain. Crabs look the part, flat, broad, and armed with impressive claws, but their family tree tells a different story. These crustaceans belong to Porcellanidae, a group that split off from squat lobster-like ancestors. Instead of being true crabs, porcelain crabs are more closely related to those long-bodied, semi-flexible squat lobsters that still haunt the cracks and crevices of reefs today. Tracing their anatomy reveals the clues. Porcelain crabs retain suture lines and grooves on their shells that betray their squat lobster roots. Their carapace, while wide and shield-like, shows subtle differences, with non-brachyrine sutures and a less completely folded abdomen compared to the hidden undercarriage of true crabs. Scientists have mapped these features through careful morphological studies, noting how each evolutionary step nudges the body shorter and flatter. Incremental changes, first a slight broadening and then a gradual folding of the abdomen, build up over millions of years. The result is a creature that walks and looks like a crab, but carries the ghost of a lobster in its bones. Molecular data backs up the story. Genetic analyses place porcelain crabs solidly within the squat lobster branch, not among the true crabs. Studies using both mitochondrial and nuclear markers show that the crab-like form in Porcellanidae is a case of convergent evolution, a separate experiment in crabification that happened independently from king crabs and brachyura. Porcelain crabs aren't alone in this halfway world. Their close relatives, the squat lobsters, display a range of body shapes, from nearly lobster-like to almost crab-like. Some squat lobsters have taken only partial steps toward the crab plan, while others have doubled back and lengthened their bodies again when environmental pressures changed. This spectrum of forms, all within a single extended family, reveals just how flexible crustacean evolution can be. The path to becoming a crab is not a straight line, but a branching, looping journey, one that can be retraced or rerouted as the world demands. Crab-like bodies are not just a fluke of appearance, they are a feat of biological engineering, tuned by both physics and genes. In laboratory tests, blue crabs have clocked sideways sprints up to 1.4 meters per second, outmaneuvering lobsters of similar size with tighter turns and greater stability. Their broad, flattened shells distribute weight across a wide base, lowering the center of gravity and making it easier to scramble over rocks or wedge into crevices. When scientists measured the force of a crab's grip, they found the short, powerful chelae could apply more pressure relative to body size than the longer, slender claws of lobsters. It is a design built for quick escapes and close-quarters combat, not open-water swimming. But the real magic happens at the molecular level. During the megalopa stage, the crucial moment when a larval crab transforms from a shrimp-like swimmer to a crawler, key genes shift their activity. Hox genes, which set the blueprint for body segments, are dialed down in the abdomen just as the tail folds under and disappears from view. At the same time, genes for shell-building proteins ramp up, thickening the carapace and reinforcing the new, compact shape. These changes are not random, they are tightly orchestrated, with regulatory switches flicking on and off at precise moments. The result is a creature engineered for a world of rough terrain and lurking predators. A living example of how evolution can tweak both form and function through its genetic toolkit. Selective pressures are not just ancient history. They are at work right now, shaping crabs in real time. Along the North American coast, European green crabs have spread from rocky tide pools to muddy salt marshes, and the change is written on their shells. In rocky habitats, green crabs develop flatter, wider carapaces, bodies built to wedge into cracks and resist pounding waves. In marshes, where the ground is soft and open, crabs tend to grow rounder, taller shells that let them burrow more easily and move through thick grasses. Field studies have tracked these differences, measuring a clear shift in carapace proportions between populations living just a few kilometers apart. Some reports suggest the ratio of width to height can differ by as much as 12%, though the exact numbers depend on the site and the season. These changes are not just random variation. They reflect a living tug-of-war between predators, habitat, and survival. In rocky zones, a low, broad body helps a crab stay hidden from hungry gulls and withstand the force of breaking surf. In marshes, a taller shell may be better for digging in and escaping when the tide goes out. The green crab's ongoing transformation is a reminder: evolution is not locked in the past. It is happening now, wherever environmental pressures push body shapes to adapt, one shell at a time. Evolution does not always move in one direction. When the pressure to be crab-like fades, crustaceans can go back the way they came, sometimes trading their flat, armored shells for longer, more flexible bodies. Squat lobsters provide a clear example. Some species in the deep sea, like those in the genus Munidopsis, have bodies that have stretched out again, with abdomens less tightly tucked and carapaces more cylindrical than shield-like. Genetic studies confirm these are not ancient holdouts, but descendants of crab-shaped ancestors that have, in a sense, decrabbed. That reversal is not random. In habitats where hiding in crevices or dodging predators is less important, such as soft, open seafloors far from the turbulence of the shore, the advantages of the crab shape begin to fade. With fewer threats and less need for a squat, protected profile, evolution relaxes its grip. Over time, the body plan loosens up and elongated forms can reappear. Morphometric research shows these changes are real and measurable, not just quirks of individual species. Even among true crabs, partial reversals crop up, for example in frog crabs, whose bodies are less flattened and whose abdomens are not as tightly folded. Decarcinization is a reminder that evolution favors what works, not what is fashionable. The crab form is powerful, but it is not destiny. When the world changes, so do the rules, and sometimes crabs become something else entirely. In the heart of the Colombian Andes, a team of paleontologists uncovered something that would rewrite the story of crab evolution. Locked inside 95-million-year-old limestone was a fossil so strange, scientists named it Calichimaera perplexa, the perplexing, beautiful chimera. Unlike any crab alive today, Calichimaera was small, with enormous unblinking eyes and paddle-shaped legs built for swimming. Its body was delicate, almost translucent, and it looked more like a cartoon than a crustacean from the age of dinosaurs. What stunned researchers most was not just the fossil's oddball anatomy. It was the way Calichimaera's body seemed frozen in time. The fossil preserved soft tissues and even fine spines, details almost never seen in animals this ancient. But the real shock came from its proportions. Instead of the compact, armored shape of modern crabs, Calichimaera kept features usually found only in crab larvae: huge eyes, a long, flexible body, and limbs designed for life in open water. It was, in evolutionary terms, a pedomorph, an adult that never lost its juvenile form. Javier Luque, who led the discovery, called Calichimaera the platypus of crabs. He said it was as if evolution ran a wild experiment and kept the weirdest results. This fossil showed that deep in the Cretaceous, crabs were not just becoming more crab-like, they were also branching out in directions no one expected. Calichimaera stands as proof that the path to the crab shape was anything but straightforward. Sometimes evolution takes a detour, and for a brief moment, something truly bizarre swims onto the scene. Crabs have become biology's punchline, but the real story is less about destiny and more about probability. When unrelated crustaceans keep winding up with the same body plan, it begs the question, is evolution just rolling the same dice, or is there a loaded side? Heather Bracken Grissom, a leading expert on crustacean evolution, puts it this way: a crab-like shape might be a safe bet for the future, but evolution always keeps its options open. The repeated rise of crabs is a case study in what scientists call evolutionary forecasting, the idea that, given enough data, we might actually predict which body plans are most likely to appear. But there is a catch. The meme that everything becomes a crab is funny because it exaggerates a real trend but misses the nuance. Not every crustacean is on a one-way trip to crabdom. Evolution does not have a master plan, it just solves the same problems in similar ways when the environment demands it. Carcinization is a recurring answer, never a rule carved in stone. So what does the crab story tell us? Evolution is partly predictable. When the same challenges appear again and again, strong waves, hungry predators, crowded seafloors, nature's toolkit often lands on the same solution. The crab body plan is one of evolution's greatest hits, but it is not the only song on the playlist. Sometimes the world asks for a different tune. Evolution keeps finding the same solutions because the challenges of survival do not change. As habitats shift and new pressures emerge, nature's toolbox remains astonishingly limited, yet endlessly inventive. The crab body plan is proof. What works, returns. In a world of rapid change, the next great transformation may already be crawling beneath the surface. What form will evolution choose next? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.